Auburn loaded up on elite wide receivers in the 2024 cycle. Now it's time for Hugh Freeze to turn his focus to stacking quarterback talent. I got Jeffrey Lee from Auburn live on to find out if the Tigers are in position to flip five-star 2025 quarterback Julian Lewis from USC. But first, Auburn fans, hit subscribe for me to the On3 Recruits channel. We're going to have a blast this offseason. We need you to be a part of it. Hit subscribe. All right, let's bring in Jeffrey Lee from Auburn live. Now, we're going to talk five-star Julian Lewis here in a minute. There's also a few other big names on the QB board that we're going to talk about, including KJ Lacy, who's committed to Texas. But first, a new QB offer just went out like minutes before we sat down to record this, and it goes out to Cutter Woods. He's the newest Auburn quarterback offer out of South Carolina, Westside High School, 6'3", 185. What's with the new offer? How did this get started between these two?
Fair question, Josh. You know, this is a new name to Auburn fans, but it's certainly not a new name to Hugh Freeze and new quarterbacks coach Kent Austin. Both of those guys, while at Liberty, this kid, Cutter Woods, went the summer before his sophomore season and went to camp there. Well, they immediately offered the kid. So they've had some history with this guy. They've seen him kind of grow into, I think last year he threw for 2,500 yards, had a TD to interception ratio of 27-4. And that's coming off a sophomore season in which he threw for 3,000 yards and had a TD interception ratio of 28-5. So they've been following this kid for a couple of years at least. And then he pops onto the scene as far as Auburn fans are concerned on Thursday when Auburn offered him. So certainly a new guy to keep an eye on, and we'll have more on him soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of broke just before we sat down. So let's go back to five-star plus quarterback Julian Lewis, who is committed to USC. Now, he reclassified. He's been to Auburn. Where is Hugh Freeze, Julian Lewis? How's this relationship developing?
Slowly. I think that's fair. Slowly. He's been to Auburn. He came to Auburn January the 20th, so late January was really his first visit that we've been able to talk to him. And even he admitted, you know, it's kind of a new deal. It's kind of a developing relationship between him and Hugh Freeze. And let's don't forget, Auburn just hired a new offensive coordinator in Derek Nix. And we've seen some quarterback turnover since the departure of Philip Montgomery and since the arrival of Derek Nix. We saw Ryan Montgomery, a guy Philip Montgomery was very high on. He's from Findlay, Ohio. He kind of slid off the board. So you're seeing a kind of a revamped quarterback board with Cutter Woods now on it. Juju Lewis kind of being more prominent on the board since Derek Nix has taken over.
So let's move on. I want to talk about quarterback TJ Lateef. Really interesting name here. He's out of Orange, California, 6'2", 185, great-looking quarterback. Does Auburn have some traction here?
They do. And speaking of Derek Nix, this is kind of right up his alley because when he was at Ole Miss, he was recruiting TJ to Ole Miss. So there is some familiarity there with Auburn, or at least with Derek Nix and TJ Lateef. And Cole Pinkston actually talked to TJ a couple of weeks ago, and you know he's got legitimate interest, and he's planning on visiting Auburn. He's planning on visiting Ole Miss. I think that's two of the schools, I think both of which have in common Derek Nix. So, but he likes the South, he likes the Southeast, and likes what Hugh Freeze has. He's certainly kept track of that wide receiver room improvement in the 2024 class. So he's a guy that I'm keeping a close eye on as well.
Has he given a timetable on when he wants to make a decision?
Sometime before senior season. So in the summer, I think he wants to take some visits in the spring, maybe try to get it done in the summer.
All right. Now, we got to ask you about quarterback KJ Lacy. I know there was a lot of talk when Ryan Williams' recruitment was hot and heavy that, hey, maybe they could land them both. But KJ Lacy is still committed to Texas. Where do things stand with him on the Auburn board?
Probably sliding. I think Auburn's best chance to flip KJ Lacy was to get Ryan Williams. And when Ryan Williams recommitted to Alabama and subsequently signed, I think Auburn's chances of flipping KJ Lacy went down, and maybe their interest as well. I think as far as Auburn was concerned, you know, KJ Lacy's, it's not like Auburn's push for KJ Lacy might have depended on whether or not they got Ryan Williams.
Right. Well, So how do you see it playing out at quarterback? Because this is a crucial year, right? When you land a Perry Thompson and a Cam Coleman and you bring in the weapons that they have, I mean, you want to pair them with an elite quarterback. So right now, are we just really early in the process? Where are we at, do you think, in Auburn's quarterback recruiting?
Early, but I think only because Derek Nix is kind of coming in and revamping that board. A lot of these quarterbacks, Josh, you know well as anybody else, these quarterbacks like to commit early. Walker White committed to Auburn last February, so early
Yeah.
February, as a matter of fact. So, getting these guys on campus as soon as possible, these new guys that are on the board, getting them to Auburn's campus as soon as possible, trying to get one of these guys locked up, because this is a great year for Auburn in quarterback recruiting because you have that 2024 wide receiver class to sell. That's a great pitch to have for these guys, for these 2025 quarterbacks. And I know for Juju Lewis and for TJ Lateef, both of those guys have mentioned that these wide receivers, you got to have somebody to throw to. So it's an important class for Auburn to capitalize on that wide receiver class from 2024.
Yeah, it is an important class. I mean, like you said, Hugh Freeze, if he's going to succeed at Auburn, he's going to have some high caliber quarterbacks to do it. In this cycle, it's very important, and it looks like they got a jump start on some really good quarterbacks. Jeffrey Lee from Auburn Live, thanks for stopping by the Inside Scoop.
Absolutely, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.